Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Mystery Month. If you're enjoying the series so far, please like, comment and subscribe. Today's case is the Lake Bodom murders. On the June 5, 1960, in Espoo, Finland, 4 teenagers were murdered. Backtracking one day to the June 4, 1960, Mela, Anja, Seppo and Nils went camping at Lake Bodom. The 2 girls were 15 years old and the 2 boys were 18 years old. On the 5th of June, between 4 and 6 am, 3 out of the 4 teenagers were murdered. Mela, Anja, and Seppo were all murdered using a blunt force object and a knife. Neither of the murder weapons were ever found. Nils was badly injured. Nils sustained a fracture to his jaw and facial bones, a concussion and severe bruising to the face. Nils and his girlfriend Mela were found on top of the tent. Mela was naked from the waist down and is said to have been the most brutally injured out of them all. Post-death, Mela was stabbed numerous times. The other 2 were found inside the tent. Mela was the only one that was stabbed, the other 3 had just been hit with a blunt object. The killer stole the clothes and the wallets of the teenagers and some of them were found 500 meters away from the bodies. They were semi-hidden. It was found that the killer was wearing Nils' shoes. Nils reported that he was in total shock during and after the murders and so he claims didn't see a lot but did say he saw black and bright red eyes coming towards him. At around 6 am on the June 5, 1960, 2 boys who were bird watching saw the collapsed tent and apparently saw a blond man walking away from the tent. They were too far away to give a good enough description of the man. Another boy who was fishing reported seeing a blond man in the area, but these cannot be connected for certain as there is no more information about him as there wasn't enough evidence or any other sightings of him. At around 11 am, the bodies were discovered by Esko Oiva Johansson. He called the police straight away and they arrived at the scene at around noon. Once the police arrived, the investigators determined that the killer never entered the tent. It is said that he stabbed and hit them through the tent walls. There are 2 major suspects in this case. The first suspect is Carl Valdemar Gillström. A lot of local people suspected Carl Valdemar Gillström, a kiosk keeper from Oitan known to have been hostile towards campers. Police found no hard evidence to link him to the actual murders. The police were skeptical of any confessions he supposedly made because he was considered to be disturbed. He drowned in Lake Bodom in 1969, most likely committing suicide, however it is not proven suicide. The people in the town knew he was violent. He reportedly cut down tents, threw rocks at people who came to his street, and some have later said that it was Carl they saw coming back from the murder scene but were too afraid to call the police about him. The police never did any DNA tests from Carl and it is now too late, but a book released in 2006 brings up the theory in detail. The book also claims that the police almost immediately ignored much more evidence that was previously unknown to the public because of language barriers, among other things. The second major suspect was Hans Assmann. Most of public suspected Hans Assmann, who lived 5 kilometers from the shore of Lake Bodom. A series of popular books promoted the theory of Hans committing the Bodom killings, and other murders. It was not taken seriously by the police, as Hans had an alibi for the night of the Bodom murders, and was said to have been in Germany during the time of another murder. In the morning of June 6, 1960, the day after the murders, he did however show up at a hospital in Helsinki with bloody clothes. The police put Nils under hypnosis to try and gather some information about the killer. Whilst he was hypnotized, he gave descriptions of the killer. They managed to create 4 different drawings from this. There was a guy who turned up to one of the funerals. No one knows who this person is but the sketches and the person at the funeral both look like Hans. Moving on. In late March 2004, almost 44 years after the event, Nils, not a suspect in the case as far as the public knew, was arrested. In early 2005, the Finnish National Bureau of Investigation declared the case was solved based on new forensic analysis. According to the statement, Nils had been drunk and excluded from the tent when he attacked Seppo, resulting in breaking his jaw in a fight which escalated into him committing 3 murders. The trial started on August 4, 2005. Nils' defense lawyer argued that the murders were the work of one or more outsiders and that Nils would have been incapable of killing 3 people given the extent of his injuries. It had always been known that the shoes worn by the killer and left by him just 500 yards away belonged to Nils, who was found barefoot. Modern DNA analysis was significant for the prosecution as it showed that the 3 murdered victims' blood was on the shoes, but there were no traces of Nils' blood. The prosecution said the Nils must have been stabbed at a different time to the attack on the murdered victims, and that the only explanation of this was that Nils' knife wounds had been self-inflicted after he committed the murders and took his shoes off. The prosecution attempted to bolster their case with an identification by 2 birdwatchers of Nils as the man they saw at the scene on the crime, and an assertion that while in custody he had made an incriminating remark. On October 7, 2005, Gustafsson was freed of all charges. The state of Finland paid him €44,900 for the mental suffering caused by the long remand time, but he was refused permission to sue Finnish newspapers for defamation. That's all for this case. I hope you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think and who you believe did it. Once again, if you have any theories or know of any evidence that I've missed, let us know in the comments. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.